Even when a horror villain is mere flesh and blood, they tend to have superiority or control over their victims, highlighting how much of a threat they pose. This imbalance creates a sense of dread and helplessness, amplifying the tension and fear. Certain films in the genre take this concept to the extreme, making the antagonist almost unstoppable, boasting incalculable strength and enough abilities to overpower virtually anyone. This elevates the scare factor exponentially for the characters and the audience, since there's no obvious way to destroy the big bad. There are times where the adversary is apparently defeated, giving viewers a momentary sense of relief, only to reveal they're still alive and kicking. This is a great way to implement a jump scare and reaffirm how unkillable the big bad is. Even if the villain in question is beaten, they often have a backup plan so they can return again and again. Although the genre has offered plenty of terrifying ghouls, monsters, and cosmic entities, there's no doubt some are more intimidating than others. Which begs the question, which horror nasty is the strongest of the lot? I'm Sean Ferry, and here are the 10 most powerful horror movie villains. Number 10. Dracula. Dracula is the OG horror monster, so this list would be incomplete without him. Based on Bram Stoker's novel of the same name, the legendary vampire has featured in over 100 films over the last century. Dracula has a myriad of powers, including regeneration, super strength, hyper reflexes, hypnosis, and transformation, allowing him to slaughter his victims with ease. He's been defeated by esteemed vampire hunter Van Helsing and similar heroes, but always finds a way to return. With that said, the Prince of Darkness can't rank higher on our list since he has too many weaknesses. Every adaptation mixes up the lore, but Drac tends to be vulnerable to garlic, holy water, crucifixes, silver, wooden stakes, churches, and sunlight. He can't enter a house uninvited, meaning the all-powerful bloodsucker can be held at bay by standing behind a door. If he doesn't consume human blood regularly or sleep on his native soil, his strength will be compromised. In certain films, Dracula also proves to be lethally allergic to werewolf bites, viruses, and hawthorns. Yes, Dracula can be bested by shrubs. Having said that, Dracula is still a daunting foe, which is why the Transylvanian Count has remained iconic since its inception. Number 9. Pinhead Hellraiser. Based on Clive Barker's The Hellbound Heart, the Hellraiser saga centers around a puzzle box called the Lament Configuration that can summon sadomasochistic demons called Cenobites. The lead Cenobite, Pinhead, is the most sinister of the bunch, shredding his victims to pieces physically, mentally, and spiritually to satiate his own sick desires. The needle-faced entity is endowed with immense power, capable of casting illusions, teleportation, and transforming people into Cenobites. However, his primary ability is to summon hooked chains from thin air to dismember anyone nearby. Not only is he immune to conventional weaponry, he enjoys being maimed and mutilated, so there's no point attacking him. Pinhead may seem invulnerable at first, but he has some major weaknesses. Although he'd prefer to venture to Earth whenever he pleases, he can't until someone solves the Lament Configuration. Until then, he just waits in the netherworld, twiddling his thumbs. He can also be banished to Hell if the configuration is solved a certain way. The fact he can be defeated by, of all things, a puzzle box, is the reason why Pinhead doesn't rank higher on our list. Number 8. Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th. Even though Jason Voorhees has always been intimidating, he wasn't unstoppable at first. When he was impaled through the face with a machete in Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, it really looked like he was gone for good. But everything changed in Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, when his corpse was struck by lightning, turning him into a powerhouse zombie. After being reborn, the first thing the hockey mask wearing maniac did was punch a hole through a man's chest, showcasing that this is not the same Jason as before. As a Revenant, Jason is endowed with inhumane strength and durability, making him borderline unkillable. Although slashers love a good fake-out, Jason seems to die at least 3 or 4 times in each installment before he actually kicks the bucket. Sadly, there doesn't seem to be any real way to keep Jason down once and for all. Whether he's melted into mush or cast into hell, the machete-chopping madman is back in the next film, no worse for wear. Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, opens with the titular ghoul being blown to pieces, and yet he's back to slaughtering his victims moments later. Number 7. Freddy Krueger, A Nightmare on Elm Street. When child murderer Freddy Krueger is burned alive by the vengeful parents of Elm Street, he was resurrected as a demon, allowing him to continue killing from beyond the grave. With his newfound powers, Freddy targets children in the one place their parents can't protect them, their dreams. While the residents of Elm Street sleep, the fedora-sporting psycho can enter their dreams and manipulate any aspect of it. He can alter the dream so it's impossible for his prey to wake up, giving them no real means of escape. His approach is so fantastical, nobody believes the victims when they claim a disfigured demon is attacking them in their nightmares, forcing them to face Freddy alone. But the main reason why Freddy is so dangerous is because everybody has to sleep. No matter what measures Freddy's victims take to stay awake, they're vulnerable the moment they nod off. Although Freddy can be harmed, killing the wisecracking sociopath is a whole other story. Even though Freddy has been defeated numerous times, he's revealed to be still alive at the end of almost every installment. Despite the fact Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare was supposed to be the titular villain's swan song, he's returned again and again, proving you just can't keep a good Freddy down. Number 6. Aazil, Fallen. In this underrated crime thriller, Detective John Hobbs witnesses the execution of the elusive killer Edgar Reese. When locals start being murdered in a similar way to Reese's victims, the police force believe there's a copycat on the loose. Upon investigation, Hobbs learns Reese and this new killer were possessed by a non-physical demon called Aazil, who conducts murder sprees while mind-controlling humans. If Azazil's host is killed, he transfers his essence to anyone in his proximity, which has allowed him to continue to evade capture and defeat for millennia. Despite the fact Aazil appears to be immortal, Hobbs figures out the perfect way to beat him. After luring the ancient entity to an isolated place, Hobbs encourages Aazil to take over his body. When he does, Aazil realizes Hobbs has poisoned himself and will be dead within a few seconds. After Hobbs perishes, Aazil is seemingly destroyed, since he has no human host to latch onto. But at the final moments, it's unveiled that Aazil cheated death by possessing a nearby cat. Although Aazil isn't invincible, he cannot be underestimated since he's been tormenting humanity for thousands of years without ever being bested. Number 5. The Blob, The Blob. In The Blob, a small American town is invaded by a gelatinous goo that absorbs everything it touches, causing it to increase in mass. Although the blob starts off small, the amorphous mass grows to immense size within a few hours, unleashing cataclysmic damage on the area. What's worse is the gloopy substance becomes bigger and stronger if it's attacked with bullets, bombs and missiles, since it devours everything it touches. It's also resistant to fire and acid, so it can't be burned. Even though the titular creature is scary in the 1958 film, the 1988 version is more dangerous. Unlike the original, the remake shows the blob melting anyone it comes into contact with, causing them to experience an agonizing death. This incarnation of the blob is smart, since it strategizes, ambushes its victims, and uses ventilation systems to enter areas that are otherwise inaccessible. To date, the only known way to immobilize the blob is to freeze it. If it gets too big, it'll become almost impossible to find any source to keep it cool, so time is of the essence when facing the gooey entity. Number 4. Brandon Brier, Brightburn. David Yarovesky's subversive superhero flick opens with a couple from Kansas, Kyle and Tori Brier, spotting a spaceship crashing near their house. When they discover the vessel contains a humanoid alien infant, they adopt it, calling it Brandon. Brandon has all of the standard powers of Superman, including super strength, flight, super speed, optic lasers, and durability. Save from being stabbed with shards from its own spaceship, Brandon is indestructible, which is why it's petrifying when Brandon's ship mind controls him, commanding him to take the world. Since people around Brandon have already begun to turn against him, he has no qualms with going full supervillain, hurling vehicles and lasering anyone who stands in his way. Though Kyle and Tori love their son, they believe he poses a threat to humanity, and so agree to kill him. Tori gets close to disposing of the boy, but he annihilates them both before they do the deed. The final scene and post-credits show Brandon crashing a commercial airliner and toppling buildings, suggesting he has begun to conquer Earth. With nobody alive aware of Brandon's vulnerability towards his ship, it doesn't look like anybody can stop him. Number 3. Cloverfield. In this found-footage sci-fi thriller, Rob and his friends try to escape New York after the city is invaded by a colossal monster, dubbed Clover by the fanbase. The first thing this kaiju does is hurl Lady Liberty's head across the city, demonstrating its immense power long before it appears on screen. The army launch a barrage of bullets, rockets, and tank missiles on Clover, and all they manage to do is piss it off. When the military realize the brute cannot be defeated with conventional weaponry, they're left with no choice but to carpet bomb the entire city, killing millions. However, a secret message in the credits proves the beast survived the assault. Scariest of all, Clover is only an infant, indicating it's leveling skyscrapers and toppling bridges out of fear, not anger. If this creature was trying to cause damage, the death toll would have been far higher. The climax of the third installment, the Cloverfield Paradox, shows a full-grown Clover is tall enough to reach the clouds. If an adult version of this creature dropped on Earth, it's safe to say there wouldn't be much of a world left. Number 2. The Djinn Wishmaster. In Wishmaster, Alexandra Amberson summons a genie called the Djinn, which is obligated to grant the wishes of anyone who approaches him. However, the wicked warlock distorts every wish, often with deadly consequences. A woman wishes to be beautiful forever, causing her to be turned into a mannequin. When a person desires to be thinner in Wishmaster 3, the Djinn makes her vomit up her insides. Although the Djinn initially comes across as a mere trickster, his power is basically unlimited. Since he can warp all of reality or turn back time in a heartbeat, he He's impervious to harm and cannot be destroyed, so the only way to defeat him is to wish him away. Unfortunately, that's easier said than done. Wishing the jinn to disappear could cause the entire world to disappear along with him. If you wish you never met the titular fiend, he could make it so that you were never born. As a result, you need to wish for the jinn to vanish in an extremely specific way to avoid it massively backfiring. But since the jinn is immortal, it's only a matter of time before he's summoned again and his reign of terror continues. Number 1. Death. Final Destination. When it comes to powerful horror villains, nobody can compete with Final Destination's ultimate adversary. In each installment, a group of characters narrowly survive a great calamity, which results in dozens of people being killed horrifically and painfully. When the survivors start dying in freak accidents, they realize the Grim Reaper is picking them off to rebalance the scales. So, how do you defeat the embodiment of death? The answer is simple: you can't. Death is a physical foe, but a force of nature, meaning he can't be harmed, evaded, or outmaneuvered. He cannot be reasoned with, so he'll stop at nothing until he claims the souls he's owed. Though the main characters in each film can avoid the catastrophes that death triggers, they are merely delaying the inevitable. If death doesn't claim their souls today, he'll get them eventually. Although the ensemble should be wary any time it looks like they're walking into a death trap, they need to accept the fact they can't truly win. Death is inescapable. So they should try and enjoy what little time they have and accept their demise when it comes, so long as it's not really, really, really painful.